Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, welcome. Thank you for the telephone conversation that we had recently. Just a couple of, again, Kansas aspects. I was interested in what Senator Tester had to say about casework. As you and I have talked, that's been a significant fact in our life. More veterans with more questions, I guess, and concerns. So I appreciate Senator Tester raising that issue. Let me talk about a couple of items that are Kansas related. The Choice Act provided for a new CBOC in Johnson County, Kansas. Johnson County is the Kansas side of the Missouri-Kansas line in Kansas City, our fastest growing part of our state. And the requirement, as I understand it, is for those proposed medical facility leases to be submitted to GSA. And then the time frame is seemingly extraordinary long, like 5 years once the decision is made to begin that lease process. Is there something that we can do to help speed this process up? We have the same issue in Junction City. Junction City is a bedroom community of Fort Riley. Lots and lots of veterans. CBOC there is needing to move out of its current facility, and they're looking for space, which to my knowledge they've not found. But if you would bring me up to date on both of those. And then the broader question is there something we can do to help to speed up the process?
The process does take too long. We have, I think, is it 16 or 18 leases right now? We're waiting. 16 we're waiting for authorization from you all to move forward on. 18. So, you know, if you could authorize those, we would really appreciate it.
In the case of at least Johnson County that I'm talking about, it's authorized.
Okay.
And then having been authorized, I'm told it's at least 5 years before.
No, well, it shouldn't be. We have worked with GSA to streamline that process, but I'm happy to, we'll come over and sit down with your staff and go through a streamlined timeline of how long it will take. It should not take 5 years.
Okay. Well, there are two, if we could talk about the one in Junction City, the one in Johnson County. And then, Mr. Secretary, let me raise a topic of construction of a new hospital in Leavenworth, again, a military community. The Strategic Capital Investment Plan lists Leavenworth inpatient facility as number 13 on the VA's priority list. But there were no funds requested in FY17. What does that mean? What's the value of that 13th ranking and no funding?
Well, I think what it demonstrates, Senators, we need more money in construction. Most of our priority projects are seismic projects or projects that deal with human safety. And as I showed in my written testimony, we have had catastrophes happen because we haven't been seismically ready. 60% of our buildings are over 50 years old. We would love to get down through the total list, but that's going to require a disproportionate amount of capital to do that.
In that circumstance, is the VA open to public-private partnerships, local entity that would build the facility and then lease it back? Does that speed up the process and help the budgetary constraints?
We are. There's actually two different processes, both of which we're looking at. One is something we already have experience with called extended use leasing. This is a process where, for example, there's a company called Core that built a building on our campus in Menlo Park that we're able to rent from them to house homeless veterans. That's the bill I need passed for Los Angeles, because I can't do that in Los Angeles right now, and that's where we have the majority of the homeless veterans. There's another process called public-private partnership, or P3, which we're currently exploring to move our San Francisco campus, which is landlocked and isolated. What we don't know yet is how will CBO and how will OMB score that, and whether or not, because it is an extended use program, they'll score it as if it were a capital project. So we're looking into that. We should have an answer in March, and we'll be back to you, because if we can do P3s, it will unlock a lot of capability for VA.
Maybe we can have that conversation when we talk about the CBOCs as well, because I think there's an opportunity for this kind of thing to occur in Kansas. And my final question is, how does the CBOC issue affect the consolidation choice community care plan? Are CBOCs any less valuable? Is there less emphasis as a result of choice and consolidation, your program, or?
No, I don't think so, but I think what it does is it speaks to something you and I have talked about before, which is when we improved access last year and did the 7.5 million more completed healthcare appointments, that was in large part because we added over 2 million square feet of new space. So every time you put a building out there, it creates access advantages that you didn't have before. But what we have to do is we have to be more choiceful. I don't mean a pun in that word, but we have to be more choiceful about where we put them. So we make sure that we're taking advantage of all of our affiliates, like Indian Health Service, medical school affiliates, and others, and we're putting those only where they're required, being good stewards of taxpayer money.
I appreciate this conversation. Look forward to having a future one.
Me too, sir.